Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of KTN NewsDesk. Thank you for staying with us. Just a few days to the elections and now the focus is shifting on the judiciary. A new Deputy Chief Justice could be named soon, depending on how the interviews which are currently ongoing end.
Indeed, it is the 18th day of February 2013 and in Eldoret, residents are fetching fuel from a tanker that has been involved in an accident.
All these details coming your way shortly. I'm Edith Kimani.
And I'm Boni Tunya. NewsDesk starts now.
The position of Deputy Chief Justice has been vacant for quite a while now, and today the interviews commenced to find out who will take that position. That's our developing story this afternoon. This commission has embarked on interviews for 5 candidates shortlisted for the position of Deputy Chief Justice. Now, 18 candidates applied for the job previously held by Nancy Baraza, who unceremoniously left the post after an altercation with a security guard in a shopping mall. Baraza, who was later investigated and found unfit to hold office, declined to pursue an appeal. Here now are the names of the 5 shortlisted, and they are Dr. Phoebe Okowa Nyawade. She's a professor of law at Oxford University in the United Kingdom. Okowa had applied for the position of Supreme Court judge 2 years ago, although she allegedly failed to show up for the interview. Court of Appeal Judge Kalpana Rawal has also been shortlisted for the position, a Bachelor of Arts holder as well as a Bachelor and Master of Laws in Constitutional and Administrative Law holder. Rawal has had an illustrious career which includes the honor of having served as the first female lawyer to set up private practice in Kenya. She had been shortlisted for the position of Chief Justice as well, rather she was beaten to that position by Dr. Willie Mutunga, who is now the Chief Justice. Rachel Awor Omamo will also be interviewed for the position of DCJ, a former ambassador of Kenya to France and the first woman lawyer to head the Law Society of Kenya in 2002. Omamo is definitely not new to the judiciary. Omamo had also been shortlisted for the position of chairperson of the Constitutional Implementation Commission, currently headed by Charles Nyachai. Joyce Migunda Majua is the other shortlisted candidate. A former chairperson of FIDA and agenda and governance expert, Majua was one of the nominees shortlisted to sit in the Kenya Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission in 2009. She is also an advocate of the High Court. And finally, Lucy Kambuni becomes the last candidate on the shortlist. A senior counsel, Lucy is also the vice chairperson of the Task Force on Devolved Governments. She has been ranked as one of the top 15 legal minds in the country. So the interviews, as we've mentioned, began today, and this is how they've been faring so far.
You went to very good universities. You wrote in good law journalists. Taught by good teachers. What common touch do you bring to this job if you are given? What common qualification? How apart from that academic qualification you have, I mean, what is the common person's virtues you have that you bring to this office?
Well, first of all, I bring the office the virtue of being a very ordinary Kenyan who went to very ordinary Kenyan schools, who grew up in a very humble Kenyan family and somehow succeeded. So to that extent, that's very much part of who I am. I didn't take that away when I went to Oxford. I have carried with me all along. So in that sense, I'm not that exotic. I'm very much part of this country. I'm very much part of its tradition. The other thing is I've spent my entire life in university teaching. These are very egalitarian institutions. I spend all my time dealing with students, debating about the application of the law, collegiate decision-making about legal problems, engaging with them all the time creatively. So in that sense, the problems I deal with are quite simply not that different from that which I deal with my students on a day-to-day basis. It's just that the context will be different, that they will have real implications for people's lives, and so maybe that brings a different context. But I am pretty much, yes, I am an academic, but I'm also a mother. I look after children, and these are all matters that impact on what I do on a day-to-day basis. So no, I'm not exclusively sitting in some ivory tower theorizing about rights of innocent parties.
Isn't your background really too narrow in terms of experience? I mean, a professor of public international law, fair enough, nobody has a problem with that. Very distinguished, but isn't your background too narrow for a common man's office like the Deputy Chief Justice?
I have spent considerable period teaching in other universities as a visiting professor. I see that as a very valuable experience that I will bring on the court. It's a valuable comparative experience. I have worked in the United States, in France, and in Scandinavia, all institutions with a robust commitment to the rule of law and transparency. So I don't think my experience is that unusual or that narrow for an academic.
Indeed, it will be interesting to see who the commission eventually picks. But on the home stretch of the March 4th election, the Independent and Boundaries Commission has called on women and the public at large to come out and report cases of abuse of women aspirants in the ongoing campaigns. The IEBC says it is taking seriously the issue of intimidation of women aspirants as it is against the Electoral Code of Conduct and warned perpetrators will be subjected to the full force of the law.
There are quite elaborate provisions in terms of bribery itself. Any form of bribery. And I know a question has been asked also about people buying votes at night. I think there is bribery and there is also the question of buying that vote. What people do not even understand is that come the 4th of March, nobody will ask you to produce that small card that we use when you are registered. We will only ask for your national ID or your passport. That is the document you used when you registered as a voter. The most serious offense is that of bribery. Bribery attracts a 1 million shilling fine or 6 years in prison or both.
Moving on, the Commission for the Implementation of the Constitution is now saying any further delay in the appointment of members of the Land Commission could raise suspicion of ulterior motives on the part of the executive in as far as the land reforms agenda in the country are concerned. CIC Chairperson Charles Nyeri accused the executive of disregarding the 11th February deadline issued by the court for gazetting the Land Commission members. The Commission now wants the President to move with speed and effect the appointments.
Disobedience of court orders by the highest office in the land can only erode the confidence Kenyans have begun to develop in the new judiciary. It is not lost on CIC that this is not the first time that the office of the President has refused, neglected, and/or failed to obey a clear court order. A case in point is a ruling of the High Court in petition number 208 of 2012 regarding the appointment of county commissioners.
Shifting gears from election matters, police in Eldoret were forced to disperse residents of Nyeri village from an accident scene along the Eldoret-Nakuru highway. This was after dozens of villagers rushed to an overturned tanker to fetch fuel from the accident scene, forcing firefighters and police to intervene. Now, eyewitnesses say a matatu hit the oil-ferrying truck from behind, causing the tanker to roll several times, spilling the oil all over the roadside. Eldoret South OCPD Nicholas Maina warned against fetching fuel from an accident scene, citing that most Kenyans have forgotten the Sachangwan incident that claimed more than 100 lives.
Kuna magari tatu imegongana. Gari ya kwanza ya Northrift imegonga lori ya mafuta mpaka tap ikafunguka na hiyo mafuta ikamwagika. Kuna gari nyingine tena imegongana na gari nyingine ya Northrift na hiyo imeenda. Na kuna gari nyingine Pajero imegongana tena na lori ya Transpares.
Diesel inaweza kuchoma kidogo lakini inahakisha moto kubwa sana. Lakini ikufuati mpaka kwa nyumba yako kama petroli.
What a truly forgetful nation we are. Elsewhere, the Nyeri University Students Association held a public debate at the Kimathi University in Nyeri where aspirants vying for the Nyeri Senate seat were quizzed on their suitability. Now, this comes a week after the Nyeri stakeholders organized another public debate for governor and Senate aspirants, a first of its kind to be organized by members of the public. Now, aspirants for the Senate seat, Mutahi Kagwe and Job Kareithi, turned for the debate held at the university's auditorium. There are 4 candidates who have expressed their interest in the Senate seat so far: TNA's Ephraim Maina, DP's Chris Murungaru, NAC's Mutahi Kagwe and Job Kareithi. The aspirants vowed to improve Nyeri's economy should they be chosen for the seat.
If you were to know, Nyeri is well able to produce 30,000 tons of green coffee. Now, would somebody do math for me? 30,000 tons of green coffee. Today, if we were to go and process this coffee here so that it will leave Nyeri in our park, you would lose 20% maximum of that, which will give you 24,000 tons of roast coffee. Are we together there?
I am talking about stuff that I have done. And therefore, when we, for example, revolutionize the ICT sector, I would like to think that when you look around you, you can see a lot of jobs. People who are selling M-Pesa, people who are selling SIM cards, people who are doing things, repairing phones, selling phones, creation of jobs. So if there is one thing I'm going to tell Nyeri County that I'm going to be looking for, I'm going to look for jobs for these young people.
Now, with the elections in less than 2 weeks to go, we'll have no shortage of such debates. The IEBC list of the candidates that will appear on the ballot paper in the March 4th election continues to spark mixed reactions from various aspirants and their supporters. In Kakamega town, supporters of the Marble Muruli, an independent candidate seeking to be Kakamega's governor, staged peaceful demonstrations in the town. The disgruntled supporters are protesting the IEBC's decision to exclude Muruli's name from the list over the controversy surrounding her degree credentials. Muruli had obtained a court order to be included on the ballot paper, but the IEBC rejected her pleas, citing that the ballot printing was already underway.
It actually puts the courts in an awkward position, in the sense that there are decisions being made at cross purposes within the same court. One of them by a 3-judge bench, one by a 1-judge. So, me as the returning officer, I recommend highly to IEBC to challenge this decision. First, I was not joined. I was a very necessary party. I'm the one who cleared this lady. My decision is the one which was being contested. And in all these decisions, even the Kajiado one that I refer to, the returning officer was a party.
Now, we've seen a lot of debates coming up. Yesterday on TV, today is Nyeri, and the second round of the presidential debate is coming up. The question is, are they meeting the target or the objective of what they're set for?
Well, I did see an interesting tweet the other day. People said, if you don't participate in the vote, then you get the government you deserve. And if you do participate in the vote, then you never get the promises you were given.
And it's sad, it's only the candidates with the least points of the opinion polls that get to give the most powerful points of the debate.
Well, that's debatable. But we now take a short commercial break. When we come back, Boni Tunya has a business, right?
Indeed.